that are really important in this particular era of our ideas about women and their development. You're talking about a relational model, ways of knowing that come out of your life experience, and a collaborative ideal.
Precisely.
So those to some extent are novel. And so I'm just wondering how that has gone for you in ministering to people who don't know that way.
I suppose I would say we've been successful, and that the success has been limited. There's plenty of room for growth in that kind of collaboration. I think it has been a surprise to some people, and some people just still don't realize that that's my mode and that's my wish for the way we do ministry in the church. But I think People's Church has had a tradition of very charismatic ministers who were very much out front and involved, and probably did make most of the decisions. I mean, I know we can look at some of the history, and there were ministers who were doing everything at the church. And so if that's the habit that a lot of people are in, well, it takes a while to get out of that. But in the areas where people have come on board, our religious education in terms of shared ministry, the staff members, the committee, the social justice work that we're doing, these are huge successes where there are groups of people, and I have to say, what's going on over there, and be filled in. And that's ideal, I think, because that means the church, it has its own life, and the people who have a commitment to accomplishing certain things are moving on those things.
So we're sort of in process now.
We're in process.
About where we.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm going to be talking about the history, a little bit of history, and the current state of social justice and community involvement at People's Church. When People's Church was downtown, especially with the Carolyn Bartlett Crane as minister, Edwin Palmer, and Roger Greeley, there were a lot of opportunities for community involvement at People's, being right downtown in the downtown community. However, when we moved to 10th Street, there weren't as many activities available, of course, at the church for the downtown community. But Roger Greeley, who was the minister at that time, did encourage us to become involved in community activities as individuals. He felt pretty strongly, though, that the church should not take a stand on social justice issues, that these should be stands can be taken by individuals, but not the church as a whole. Roger's montages that he showed during his years dealt with many social justice issues and were quite powerful. However, over the last few years, the church has evolved, especially since Jill McAllister joined us, and some people have felt that the church would be more effective if it worked as a whole, taking stands and dealing with social justice issues rather than people just acting as individuals. So in the spring of 2002, the People's Church Board formed a committee to look into how the church could become more involved with social justice activities. And in the fall of September 2002 at the People's All-Day Retreat, the Social Justice Coordinating Committee of People's Church was formed. The purpose of the Social Justice Coordinating Committee is not to take on activities. The members don't take on activities themselves, although some of them may be very active in social justice activities. But the purpose is to provide a framework and support, both financial and provide mechanisms by which people within the church could bring issues to the Social Justice Committee and carry out various social justice social justice activities and community activities. Some of the activities that People's Church Social Justice Committee has supported include the food pantry. We have a food pantry right now at People's Church. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender support. We sponsored a criminal justice Meet the Candidates night. Talking Pots is supported by the Social Justice Committee. And the Peace and Nature Camp that was a very successful summer camp this summer, which was attended not only by People's Church children, but also children within the community. In the future, we hope to support an Adopt a School program in 2005-2006. Now, the largest activity and the most extensive that People's Church has become involved in recently has been the community faith-based organization ISAAC, Interfaith Strategies for Action and Advocacy in the Community. And I was particularly excited about People's Church involvement in ISAAC because in 2002 there was a community meeting to get this organization started within the community, and I attended because I really hoped to bring some information back to People's Church and encourage the church to join ISAAC. And when I arrived, Phil Kramer, who was a member of the Social Justice Coordinating Committee, was also at the meeting with, I think, very much the same purpose. And now Jack Urban is going to tell you a little bit about People's Church involvement and commitment to the ISAAC organization.
Well, right now ISAAC has about 14 member congregations, and People's is one of the most active ones. It's represented by a core team of about 12 people that are People's Church members, and this core team operates with the support of the Social Justice Committee and with the blessing of the Board of Directors of People's Church. One of the key issues that ISAAC is working on right now is, along with a new criminal justice facility and public housing, is the issue of public transit for the entire county. In the next 2 years, there's going to be a proposal to create and fund a county-wide public transit authority. This ISAAC regards as a social justice issue. There are many people in the county who cannot drive due to disability, due to age, due to youth, and the social and economic vitality of the community depends on mobility. So what the People's Church core team is going to be asking People's Church to do is for the church as a whole to become a member of an advocacy group known as Friends of Transit for Kalamazoo County. This advocacy group is going to be as broad-based as we can make it, and it's intended to educate the public on the need for a public transit system for the whole county. This will mean that People's Church will be asked to take a stand as a church on what might be regarded as a controversial issue. If the controversy could be simply the fact that there's going to be a public vote on funding this authority. So in the coming months, the Social Justice Committee is going to be devising a work process and policies by which this decision by the church can be made. Now, whether People's Church ends up joining or not, it's an open question right now. But regardless of the outcome, it's a matter of historical importance to People's Church what this decision will be. I, for one, am anticipating it'll be positive, but we'll see, and I'm eagerly looking forward to the process that will take place in the coming months.
So we've talked a little bit about what you brought with you, where we are maybe in the process. Could you talk a little bit about what you see from here? You've just returned from sabbatical. I guess, what do you see for the church and for your ministry? What is that vision at this point?
Well, I've had this sense since I arrived that People's Church was at a transition point. And this is a transition from an era to an era. And the transition has been, it's taking its time. Sometimes I say it's like steering an ocean liner. It's slow turning, but we're still turning. But as we come into our 150th year now, I have the sense that we are really now poised to step into the new era. And we are going to begin to become what People's Church is going to be. because we cannot be what we were. We have this beautiful history to build on. And it includes the history of the radicalness of liberal Christianity 150 years ago, and then the radicalness of a humanistic approach which took to task the mainline Christianity of this community and of this country and lifted up all of the problematic parts of that. But all of those things they're situated in their context, in their place, and they are not the world we live in today. And my sense is that finally we have enough people who are interested in becoming what People's Church can be, that we're going to now move forward and not be more defined by who we were than by who we are. And that's been an interesting transition, especially through a time of conflict. I mean, a congregation draws its strength from holding on to its good history. I think we've done the best job we can do of healing from that kind of conflict and now getting ready to freely move into the future. I think that what we're looking at is a congregation which is going to become more and more known for keeping the voice of freedom of religion and human freedom in general, especially in the era that we're living in now, the political situation in our country. I mean, freedom for individuals is being impinged in silent ways and in not so silent ways. And that's one of the parts of our tradition which we have to hold up in a very public way, and I think that that's one of the things that we will be able to do. The other part of what we will become is a congregation that is known for working with others. And that is our future, because Unitarian Universalists are a very small minority in this country, in the world, and yet we have accomplished incredible numbers of things in terms of the history of human rights. But as a religious organization with power and structures for accomplishing things, we are small. And the only way that we can really make our voice heard and help accomplish those structural changes that we still want to see in the world, more welcoming of diversity, more individual freedom for people, for families, the only way we can accomplish those is by working in tandem with other religious people and other secular organizations which are moving towards the same goals. And so I think that People's Church is going to become better and better known in this community through its very close and closer connections with other congregations and agencies that we work with.
If you take that to another level, I mean, that's really talking about a collaborative model that we would try to initiate and uphold in the community.
One of the other good examples of successful collaboration that we've done since I've been here is that we took the step of becoming a teaching congregation in the UUA, which means that we took in an intern minister for the first time. And our intern minister was Dennis McCarty. And it was an incredibly successful collaboration because Dennis learned the things he needed to learn about the role of the minister in a congregation. And the congregation learned what it meant to teach, that is, talk about its own life. And together, we moved out into the area of social justice work. And so we both learned about it. And Dennis and I got to have each other to bounce ideas off of. I supervised and he was a student, but we were also collaborators. And we provided two voices instead of one in the ministry. All of that is sort of the ideal of shared ministry.
What about our wider connections within our own denomination?
Mm-hmm.
We've not had a very close tie, at least as I understand it. You've had much more involvement in the UUA and with the district. How do you see a closer connection there, facilitating some of what you view for our congregation in the future?
I think that those wider connections with other Unitarian Universalists and Unitarians in our country and in the world are essential to us understanding what our potential is. It seems to me that as we get to know the other Unitarian Universalists in our state, for example, or in our district, we discover that most of them are working on the same kinds of issues that we're working on in Kalamazoo. And when we get to know them simply and share our stories, we are strengthened, we are encouraged. I've been very involved with Unitarians around the world in the International Council. And I think the thing that has been the most important to me is to discover that it's really simply building the relationships without an idea of what is the relationship for, but knowing that I have friends, colleagues, people of like mind right this minute who live in Romania, who live in East India, who live in South Africa, makes me feel like the work I do here in Kalamazoo, Michigan is not separated from the world and has that much more chance to succeed, and is in line with, is moving in a movement with other people. Because the essential point of our being human is that we are connected to each other.
Lee Kunze, Judy Mayo, and Rick Johnson will tell us about our partner church in Transylvania.
I'm Judy Mayo, and I've been part of the partner church for about 6 years. We started our program when Jill introduced us to the Kavasna Church in the Transylvania area of Romania, and she had learned about this church through her friend Istvan Kovac, who is the minister of a nearby church in Romania. So we started our program, and we have participated in several Hungarian dinners, actually 5, that we've put on to be fundraisers for our partner church. We've also participated in the in selling goods for that church at the Holiday Bazaar. And I will let Rick talk about the history of that area.
And I have a little audio visual here.
Who are you?
Rick Johnson is my name, and Romania is the name of the country that Lee and I visited about 3 or 4 years ago. We went over as a group from our church, and we were hosted by this partner church congregation in Kavasna, which is located in the southern part of Transylvania. And the Carpathian Mountains surround this territory of Transylvania right here in central Romania and keep it more or less isolated from other parts of the country. And in fact, a primary language here is Hungarian rather than Romanian. We also visited a larger Unitarian church in St. George, and the minister there travels out to this small little congregation in Kavasna. And he and they are gathering together now to build an actual church in this town, and we are going to try to assist them in the construction of that church. Our religion, the Unitarian religion, actually began in the mid-1500s in this Transylvanian town in the north called Cluj. And the king of Transylvania was convinced by a Calvinist minister to try this new single deity Protestant religion called Unitarianism. So by visiting this church in Kavasna, we actually went back to our roots and learned about the origins of our own religion. We were welcomed in homes by the people there, and Lee will talk a little bit about the hospitality we received.
Well, it was very warm. They didn't speak our language, but in one home, a young friend of hers who teaches English as a second language came. Anytime I was there, she came and translated for my hostess. My hostess's home was what we would call really substandard, but there were indications in her home that she must have had a better life when she was younger. She had a lot of books, although I understand that's traditional in that country, but she also had some beautiful china that she had in glass fronted cupboards in her home that she made a point of showing to me. So I would feel that at some time she lived a very privileged life. Another home that I stayed in was more privileged, but she was in St. George, and the situation was entirely different. The food that we had, breakfast was always the same, no matter where we stayed. Cheeses, cold cuts, various kinds of sausages. I wondered, though, if they'd been told that that's what we like to eat, rather than something that was traditional to them. And were I to go there again, I think I'd ask. When one visits a foreign country, one's very aware that they may be sensitive about some things. There were questions I didn't ask I would like to know, so I'm hoping to go another time and perhaps feel more comfortable with the kind of curiosity that I have. But they were very, very friendly.
We were treated so kindly. I think everybody in that first group would just love to go back and visit again. I know the two of us would.
And I'd love to know the language. I would learn the language before I go again, wouldn't you?
Yes, and I hope there'll be more opportunity for this visitation back and forth. It's very good to do that.
I've found these connections to be incredibly nurturing, and I think as our congregation builds these connections, each individual who's involved in them feels that as well. And so my vision is that we will keep moving to build more and more of those connections.
Let's just maybe turn in my last question, and any other things you want to add, more to the personal side of that future. Thinking about the vision that you have, the style of ministry that you hold. You've just come back from sabbatical. What fuels you now? What will you draw on to carry you forward in this next phase of your life, of your ministry, and our congregation's history?
The experience of a sabbatical is an incredibly enlightening experience and a challenging one as well. My idea for the sabbatical time was to stop and look at my own life in terms of all of the things I preach, and to find out whether my own religious life was in any kind of the shape that I encourage other people to grow towards. And what I discovered is that it's incredibly easy to say the words and to hold the ideals, and it's much more difficult to maintain the discipline of pulling yourself to that center, those values that you want to live out every day. And I've discovered, after being a very hard-working person and a person with a lot of energy, balancing motherhood and career, that I can no longer do it on energy alone. And it will take for me now the intentionality and the discipline of making that time to make sure that my values and my actions are aligned every day. And I feel humble just by saying that, because every day I have plenty of other things to do. And every day I think I should show up at a certain time, and every day I have paperwork and email, and every day what I need to do is start with a few hours of centering. And it's trendy in a way, and yet it's not really popular to do this work, to tell people this is my priority. And so my own personal goal is to keep doing the work to make that a priority, and figure out, I'm going to have to keep learning along the way how to explain that, how to model that, how to be gentle enough with myself, because this is now the rest of my life, and I don't expect that I will make huge progress. I hope I make a little. But 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I made a commitment to myself that I wanted to live an honest life. And that has been my greatest challenge, because it's so easy to get carried away with your skills and with what people expect of you. And I want my ministry, I want my preaching, I want my being with other people to come out of my honest ability to be present, to listen. And that's my challenge now, is to maintain that commitment to living an honest life. And so the discipline is in front of me. And what I hope, and what I'm sure that I will find here, because I've always found this kind of companionship, I hope that I will find others in this community who are at the same place, because we need each other to keep going. It's if I can think of a real vision of what People's Church might become 10, 15 years down the road, what I love to imagine is a religious congregation of people, all of whom are engaged in the religious life. That they've gone steps beyond simply coming on a Sunday morning as a form of religious practice, but simply coming to listen and to hear, and then to critique or take what they want, and then to go out for the week. Instead, it's a community of people who are engaged in the religious life every day, and they come together once a week to be strengthened, to teach each other, to encourage one another to go back into the world, and then keep coming back the next week for the same thing. That's what I hope for.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you, Michelle.